Welcome back to Collecting Issues, where on this episode, we'll be taking a look at Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King, Bilquis Evely, and Matheus Lopes. Collecting issues 1 to 8 of the 2021 DC Comics series.
So the comic book education continues?
We're talking inappropriate comic books.
You're into comic books, aren't you?
That's comic book shit.
Like in the comic books.
Oh, very exciting, Benjamin. Welcome back to Collecting Issues, the monthly comic book club. It's spoilers all the way down, Ben, this week. Because Collecting Issues, it's a book club, Benjamin. We're not here doing a review. We're not here doing recommendation. We've read the damn thing. The listeners have read the damn thing. And now we're going to talk about it. So we've no heed for spoilers.
Not a one, Michael. We'll have no truck with them.
Not a single heed with them, Benjamin. And Benjamin, the other thing to point out is that I'm suffering from what we in the English-speaking world call hay fever, or what our American friends call seasonal allergies. Because, Benjamin, that's why my eyes are watering, not because of the emotional impact of the comic book Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
That's a good disclaimer.
Not that it doesn't have an emotional impact, Benjamin. Of course, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying I've got what our American friends would call seasonal allergies.
Yes, Mick's body is at war with the environment, not with the raging torrents of emotion inside him.
No, I've got them under control. Ever since we had that chat earlier.
Yeah, he just lifts heavy things. Every time a little bubble comes up, feels that little lump in the throat. Couple of
Lift the
deadlifts.
box of comics.
I've yet to put that amazing graphic on
Completely,
our
utterly wasted my time.
Instagram. I have it saved. I've completely forgotten. But come here to me. If you'd like to
What?
see Mick lift a literal box of comic
Whole
books
box.
in a weightlifting fashion, why don't you consider going and having a look in the description there and giving us a follow on all those different platforms? There's bloody TikTok.
Yeah.
There's bloody Instagram.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube. You might be watching us. Hello.
Hello, look, we're here.
And if you haven't been put off by all of that yet,
Yeah. We're like nearly 2 minutes in and we're not talking about
Yeah.
any comics. So.
come and have a look at this comic. So, Michael, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. A paradox in the title alone, Michael. I thought she was Supergirl. What do you mean, Woman of Tomorrow? What's going
mean?
on?
Is she a girl or a woman? Is she? Who
Yeah.
does she think she is? Britney Spears from the 90s?
Absolutely. I tell you what some people think she is, a bloody impertinent woman. That's a
Very
direct
good.
quote from the comic. A direct quote
That
from the
is.
comic. So, Michael, this is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. It's by Tom King, the arguably most debated comic book author within DC at any given time. Some people love him, and some people hate his guts.
Hate his guts, Benjamin. They want them
Pretty
strung up.
interesting.
They want
Yeah,
them sent
one-
to the planet Barradoon. Whatever
Yeah.
it's called.
And this is like all Tom King gigs, all these kind of special mini runs he does on classic characters. He's done it all over the place, Michael. Mr. Miracle, Adam Strange, the Human Target. He does it every once in a while. He gets a little mini series and he just reimagines the whole thing. So we can treat this as a Tom King Elseworld, a Tom World, if you will.
Tom World, Else King. King World.
Yeah.
Benjamin.
Else King.
I don't think we care about Elseworlds anymore, do we? We live in a post-continuity universe now, don't we? Don't we?
We should.
Do we?
Do you mean in real life, Michael? Yes.
Yeah,
Facts
yeah,
and
yeah,
continuity
yeah.
do not matter.
Very
Yes.
good. Thanks to our American friends. But Benjamin, do we, and seasonal allergies, do we care about continuity anymore? Do people still care about continuity in comics? Ever since Wizard magazine stopped coming out, I have no way of knowing.
It's hard to gauge the pulse of the comic book community. Leave us a comment wherever you're listening and tell us, do you care about continuity? Let us know. But Michael, this comic book doesn't give a dross for
Not a
continuity.
single toss, Benjamin.
It's taking Kara Zor-El in a whole new direction over 8 issues, and it's, in a nutshell, Michael, a cosmic western space odyssey.
Yeah, it's True Grit, Ben. It's the book
True
True,
Grit.
Grit.
Yeah,
Have you ever
without
read the book
shadow
True
of a doubt.
Grit, Ben?
Yeah, without shadow of a doubt. So we're not guessing that. That's not a supposition on the part of Collecting Issues, the comic book club. It's a fact. It has come out
Oh, has it?
in the wash.
I was guessing. Okay.
Yeah, no, Tom King has quite literally come out and said, I was very inspired by True Grit, both the old John Wayne version and the new Coen Brothers version, and the novel, which is one of the great novels of all time. I was like, okay, I'll do a mentor-mentee journey on revenge. And that's kind of what he's done. That's sort
So
of
there's a
really what
young
we're
one,
dealing
Benjamin,
with
and her
Yeah.
dad gets killed by a scoundrel,
Poor Ruthie.
and she says, no, I'm going to find someone. I'm going to find someone who can help me get a revenge. It's me, Haley Steinfeld, and I'm going to find someone who can help me get a big revenge on this fella. And we'll probably learn some lessons along the way. Or, depending on whether it's a movie or a comic book, maybe not. Maybe ditch those lessons. Whatever.
Maybe.
Whatever suits.
Yeah, whatever I feel like, really. That's what I'll do. And that's what we get over the 8 issues, Michael, is a strange fusion of classic pulp fantasy novels, Western novels, and a bit of superheroes thrown in for good measure.
Benjamin.
You know? Yeah.
It is a classic comic book intergalactic space adventure.
Yeah.
To the point where there were points where I was reading it going, haven't we done this? Haven't we done this comic before? We haven't. But, I mean, it's very reminiscent. I'm not saying it's bad, first of all, but it's very much in a genre. It's very much in a genre that we're probably going to look back on in 15, 20 years and say, oh, remember when every comic was a character going on what is ostensibly an intergalactic space journey, but is actually a journey of self-discovery. Now, Benjamin, I know I'm just describing the hero's journey as a literary trope, but it's the hero's journey writ across the cosmos. Because this was highly reminiscent, better probably, but very reminiscent, and possibly also older. We read Beta Ray Bill recently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't he go on a similar journey
Oh,
of
he does,
self-discovery across the cosmos
with
recently?
mythic elements. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's imagine if True Grit was in space. Imagine if True Grit was in Guardians of the Galaxy.
In some other senses, Michael, it's a chance for Supergirl to shine, as it were. One of the things I think is quite interesting is Tom King has reflected on his original kind of pitch for this comic. And I mentioned there, he talked about the mentor-mentee relationship. He actually had this pitched a bit more to being Kara as the mentee. And they were going to originally use Lobo, Michael, as a mentor. As the Rooster Cogburn character from True Grit. Which, when you think about it, yeah, that fits. That
fits,
makes
that works.
It makes a good bit of sense. But the editor actually came back to him at the time and said, I don't
Hey,
know.
listen to me, Tom King. You probably had a big cigar.
Yeah, big cigar, and he was just there going,
Yeah, now you listen to me, Tom King.
But the direct quote from the editor was, no, she should be the mentor. And I was like, oh yeah, she's already Rooster Cogburn. She's already John Wayne. She doesn't need someone to teach her to be that. So that's kind of the idea here. We meet a Kara Zor-El who is
Supergirl.
quite competent. Yeah,
Her name's Supergirl.
Supergirl. And we meet Supergirl, who is, for all intents and purposes, bar naming convention alone, Superwoman. She's fully formed. She's ready to go.
That's what
Sorry,
Ben
her
texted me,
character
actually.
is fully formed.
Ben
All
texted
right.
me that, and I said, "Oh, I'm not really comfortable with that, Ben. I have to be honest."
Her character is fully formed. You knew what I meant. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah. It's too late. Dig up.
They start to traverse the cosmos in pursuit of Krem of the Yellow Hills. So issue 1 is pure Western. Pure Western, pure Conan the Barbarian to some degree. And it kicks off from there, right? So,
Benjamin, the opening is so Western. I did a little fart, and it came out like.
while you were reading, very good.
While I was reading, it was quite upsetting, actually.
So it centers on a wee frontier family in space. They are agriculturalists, farmers, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah,
Whatever you want
Benjamin,
to call them.
I've seen Zack Snyder's Planet Moon, or whatever the hell it was called.
Yeah, it's that, but better. Yeah. Or rather, this came out in 2021, so Zack Snyder saw that and said, I'm just going to do that.
Yeah, I think he was probably already in production. I think it's a coincidence. But go on, let's take a lash at Snyder while we're at it.
Yeah, let's give Snyder a lash of the whip. He deserves it. Sure, come here to me. Look, that's our setting. Ruthye is a child. She is devastated at the loss of her father to the hands of a random villain. My favorite bit about this, Michael, is that Krem of the Yellow Hills is not a despot. He's not a being of great might. He's not an established supervillain or anything like that. He's just an arsehole. He's just
Stabby
a dickhead mercenary. A stabby mercenary dickwad. And her father has the misfortune, Michael, of crossing paths with Krem of the Yellow Hills. Krem of the Yellow Hills puts Ruthie's father in the ground, and so she takes it upon herself to avenge him. And she sets out and tries to find her rooster Cogburn.
Genocide as the stakes in this just kind of comes out of nowhere. Because it's kind of, there's a juxtaposition in this between what's the quest here. The quest is to go and get Krem of the Yellow Hills because he killed Ruthie's dad and poisoned the dog. But then it turns out that he's also doing genocides.
Yes.
And my argument would be that's probably worse.
Yeah,
but,
so I think...
But, hold on.
Yeah,
but what's weird about this, and this is where to get into authorial intent versus what's in the text. Anytime you're thinking about what's the author saying, you're being taken out of the story. So anytime you're having to have the argument with yourself between, is this what the author wanted us to feel? Am I confused because I'm reading it wrong, or am I confused because that's how the author wanted me to be? But I was really confused about what's going on here. Like, they're chasing down this guy and kind of as a side quest stopping genocides.
Well, I think failing to stop genocides quite often. Cause
mostly,
They travel through Krem's wake of devastation. The way I took it, and the way I read it was, this is a, for lack of a better term, it's a Spider-Man parable, right? With great power comes great responsibility. Okay. That's the lesson I think that Kara has to learn to some degree over the course of the story, but it's also a lesson that Ruthye has to learn. Kara is trying to teach Ruthye that revenge is not the answer, and she takes that stance early, but is somewhat challenged on it over the course of the story. The way I looked at this was, yes, the inciting incident is poor Crypto being poisoned by a dickhead with a poison arrow under the red sun, right? And that is the convenient excuse that Ruthye needs to tag along and say, well, if you won't fight for the revenge of my father, we'll go. I'll just hang around with you until we figure out how to help the dog, because that's important. And I think the lesson is that Krem gets up to all kinds of horrors over the course of his thing. And as the story progresses, he's a shitebag. And as the story progresses, it gets worse and worse and worse. And Supergirl is forced to look at what would have happened had she not taken on this man. It's almost a snowball effect. You know, in Looney Tunes, where the snowball starts very small at the top of the mountain and keeps going. It's just called a snowball effect. I don't know why I explained that. I always see things through Looney Tunes lenses. Leave me be. So, look. Looney Tunes was a real education for me when I was younger.
Clearly.
So, when it comes to that snowball effect is really crucial. And I think Supergirl is by the end of the comic the woman of tomorrow, because she has been forced to bear witness to what happens when you have the level of power that she has and don't use it. You choose to shirk it, right? Not that she's shirking it, but she takes the week off, you know?
She takes a day off for 3 days or something. But it's not really a character development of Supergirl. It's a character development of Ruthye.
Yeah, okay.
And Supergirl almost seems whimsical. Okay, can we talk about the ending? There's a bit of a twist ending. Do we want to touch on that yet?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why we can't. Look, let's cover some of the stuff that's been done, right? They go through
yeah.
different places. They encounter societal racism and oppression in the strange little Norman Rockwell town of blue, big-eyed aliens.
Yeah.
Blues and
I forget
purples.
what it's called. Blues and purples. Benjamin, that section is so American. Obviously, a bad thing happens. But it's amazing to me that that's the thing that they see as real, true evil.
Segregation.
Segregation, yeah. Not, the genocides. The real, true evil is selling out people who are different to you to save yourself.
I mean, it is pretty evil.
It's pretty evil. I'm not saying that it's not. It's absolute shitebaggery. But they're not the ones who literally committed it.
Yes.
So it's kind of like the comic kind of takes a stance that permitting segregation is, if anything, worse than committing genocide.
I don't know if the comic gets at that. I don't know if I can agree with you on that one.
I think it does. I think it does, because they call that the truest evil of them all at one point.
I always come back to that kind of thing as the worst people are the ones who sell out their own kind. And that's, I think ultimately the blues and the purples are the same species. Do you know what I mean? It's a trope. It's not, I'm not saying it's what's happening, but I think that's what Tom King is leaning on. Do you know what I mean?
I thought he was leaning on racism. I thought he was leaning on racism.
Like it's a classic. Look, the art is important there, right? I think there's a couple of things. That is the most Earth adjacent culture that
It's pretty much Earth, yeah.
It's pretty much Earth, but in the 1950s, right?
50s? They're having peach pies and yeah.
It's a cosmic Norman Rockwell, and Bilquis Evely intentionally invokes Rockwell art there. It's that weird 1950s America. Everyone has their little peaked cap on. Everybody has a job. The local police officer is chilling out in his big hall. It's odd, right? And there's a sinister, awful underbelly to it. And I think it's a little bit of an exploration of that. From there, they travel on to another alien planet, and Krem is just carving a path. So Krem finds his way to the Brigands at the end of that one. The Brigands take him on board because he's the worst fucker in the biz. And they
you're just shit. You're an absolute
and
shitebag.
Game recognizes game, right?
Yeah. Do you want to come on the ship of shitebags?
Do you want to come on the Shitebag Express? And then they find themselves on... Sorry, Parnat was the name of that planet. And then they travel to Platt's Galaxy, where we meet those two poor lads, and one of them lost his best pal. And we see that guy in the hospital bed, and he's been spoon-fed by Kara.
Oh,
He keeps
After
saying, he was a real good
man.
man, Flarg.
Yeah,
Flarg, we're like houndmates. And he keeps doing that. Then we go on from there, and we meet the guy digging graves. And Supergirl does it in the blink of an eye, sorts it out. Then we go to the Kirby planet, the Jack Kirby planet. We get a glimpse
of
the big alien lady, the strange pacifist people, and she breaks down because she came back to her planet and it's been decimated by Krem and the Brigands. They just keep doing this, right? And they are forced to bear witness to the horrors. That's the entirety of issues 3 and 4, I think.
So Ben, this is kind of what I was getting at with the kind of levels of evil, right? It's odd. It's odd that in a personal story about revenge and killing someone's dad and poisoning their dog, we're just exposed to a series of awful holocausts. It would be like if in True Grit, if they were chasing whatever the guy's name is, Jesse Clemens, and it turns out he did the Holocaust. He did World War II. And then he did the Pol Pot. And then he did every awful thing that has happened in human history. And then they still catch up to him in the end and go, "You killed my paw." It's a wild juxtaposition.
But I don't think it does boil down to you killed my paw at the end, though, does it? Like, Supergirl's been broken by this cosmic odyssey with the end.
That's the jar. It felt like a True Grit personal revenge story, nearly gets kind of ditched because it turns out that this guy is one of the worst people who's ever lived in the entire universe. He's doing every bad thing you can possibly imagine. Like, it's kind of crazy, the escalation of what a baddie he is. And to me, kind of undermined your point a little bit of he's just a random bag of shite.
Well, he's not by the end, but he is at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think it's an escalating crisis, more or less. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's I don't know how to describe it. I quite liked it. I think the shedding of the personal revenge story is essential for me, and I think it does a wonderful job of. Well, wonderful is probably the wrong adjective, but it does it does a super job of exploring what a hero can and can't be. Like, Supergirl is one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, and yet at the end of that Norman Rockwell racism is the worst issue. The pair of them are sitting on the steps of a tiny little town and going, it's too big, we're too small. And they are forced to look at awful things, genocide being the one that they continuously do. The Brigands, not Supergirl and Ruthye, but it can feel like it's too big to do anything with. And in the end, I don't think they solve anything because they don't rescue any of these populations from the evil that the Brigands do. The Brigands are the worst part of it for me. Krem, I understand to some degree, but the Brigands just being a big pack of murderous bastards that go about the cosmos slaughtering. That for me
they may as well
took me
be
out of it.
Annihilation Wave or any sort of here come the generic baddies.
That took me out of it a little bit, but Krem remained a good focal point for me, and he remains a focal point in the story for them to witness all this horror and see through it. He's not the one instigating genocide every time either. Do you know what I mean? He's part of a commit. Yeah, exactly. He's a ruthless opportunist, and obviously a psychopath, and all the other stuff.
And quite a powerful wizard by the end.
Yes, he's suddenly figured out how to do that. So look, there's a few Tom King leaps here, right? Let's not kid ourselves. But I really enjoyed what that story forges in. To me, this is the best I've ever seen Supergirl done. And I know that's a grand statement. I've ended up reading a lot of Supergirl comics over the years in terms of, I used to do the Batman Legends. It was one of the Panini Titan monthly things that you used to be able to get in Eason here in Ireland.
They're still
published. And they published the strange Superman, Batman, the retelling of how Kara came to Earth. It was their attempt in the early 2000s to give her a bit of an edge, and they were horrifically exploitive in how they brought her to screen. It was Michael Turner, R.I.P.
Legend, yeah.
But Michael Turner, who, let's be honest, drew a very exploitative young woman.
He could draw a skirt. Let's just say that.
Made a career of drawing scantily. Witchblade, Fathom for Image Comics, which was just a woman in a bikini who could control the sea. And then he got his hand.
Halcyon days, Ben. Halcyon days.
It was incredibly exploitative. It was. Supergirl would strut around in a tiny little crop top and top pants.
Oh, Benjamin, he could draw a skirt. Let's put it that way.
And took on Darkseid in her skimpy little crop top and top pants. And it was
better
it was
times,
bad.
Ben. Better
It
times.
was bad, right? But that became the definitive. Like, if you go back to Justice League, the animated cartoon, we got Supergirl there as well. Superman, the animated series. Again, tiny little skirt, little crop top, a blonde bombshell.
Great stuff, great stuff.
Not
Halcyon
fantastic.
Days, Ben.
Not great
Halcyon
stuff, right? And again, that's been Kara's career since she was introduced in 1959. She was introduced in 1959 in Action Comics 252, Michael.
Very good.
And essentially became a backup character. Whenever Superman was taking something on and he couldn't be in two places at once, suddenly he'd remember he had a cousin, and off she'd go and she'd sort it out. And that's to say nothing of the exploitative nature of how she was tested with audiences, Michael. In Superman 123, a year previous, so 1958, Jimmy Olsen got his hands on a magic totem. And Jimmy Olsen could make a wish. And it was a what if wish, Michael. And it was like, what if Superman was a girl? And suddenly we were introduced to that character as a tester for audiences. And they got Otto Binder, Michael, and Al Plastino, which sound like made up names but aren't. Otto Binder was the man who gave us Mary Marvel. So make her a teenager and slap her in a skirt. It was Otto Binder's superhero formula. And they got him in again in 1959. And they said, Otto, we need your keen intellect. And he grabbed his big cigar, Michael, and he said, nom, 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 nom. Make her a teenager and slap her in a skirt. And that was it. And they went, Otto, you're a genius. Genius, Otto.
Generational
and that was
intellect.
That was her for decades. And in this, I got to see, first of all, a character who is distinct from Superman in several ways, which I really, really liked. The design that Bilquis Evely puts on this is very Silver Age inspired, and yet manages to be this incredibly dynamic, modern take on the character visually that I really enjoyed. But also, most importantly, her telling of Krypton is done much better. The fall of Krypton, I think, is much more compelling as a drive for her as a character and makes her distinct from Superman. I think this did a great job of giving me a Supergirl, which sadly, because it's an Elf King story,
King Worlds,
we'll never get to see again. Do you know what I mean? We won't get to see that character come out of it the other side, and we won't get to see an accomplished Supergirl in the same way. But we should. This is a Superwoman, and it works better, in my opinion, than a lot of the Supergirl adaptations we've seen. Now, that might not be the case for the listeners, Michael. Maybe you have a favourite Supergirl, and I'm a mile off the mark. I'm not a Supergirl fan. I'm not a Supergirl superfan. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not, but maybe I am. Maybe I am.
Tremendous disservice to 7 years of Melissa Benoist's TV show, for example.
Well, I'm not talking about TV. I'm talking about comic books. I can't talk about.
Very good.
I can't talk about the television, Michael. That's not how this works.
I think it's a fair point that the TV show also focused on a Supergirl who wasn't under Superman's shadow.
Yes.
Where she was the primary hero. But again, I only watched a season or two of it, so I don't really have anything in depth to say about it. Benjamin, she's doing a swear. She's having a drink.
People fucking hate Cal.
Yeah.
People fucking hate Cal.
Benjamin, we were both a little bit disappointed to learn that a lot of as far as we could tell from our limited ability to research and our small brains, a lot of the throwbacks to things that Superman did or said or experienced in this weren't from classic comics. That they were created whole cloth for this.
So what we're referencing there is Banathon. Or is it Banathon? Is that what it's called?
The planet Baradoon.
Barathon. It's the Green Sun planet.
Yeah.
It's the trap for Supergirl that the Sorcerer Supreme, Krem of the Yellow Hills, creates the ultimate MacGuffin, Michael, for dealing with a Kryptonian, which is called a Mordu Orb. And the Mordu Orb, conveniently, the reason that we don't see it all the time is because you have to commit genocide to get one.
Now, that's not why he was committing genocide.
No, it was just a happy little accident, as Bob Ross would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, if Bob Ross was a genocidal maniac, it's just a happy little accident. I have a little Mordu orb here. Just going to paint it in. Watch my brush strokes.
Throw it out. That's Supergirl.
Throw it out there. And yeah, so the ultimate MacGuffinry, right? In that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then she gets brought to. I assumed because she said, "Oh, they built this for my cousin back in the day to try and stop there." And he only lasted 45 minutes. He said it was the worst place he'd ever been. Turns out, Michael, we did a little bit of digging. That's a Tom King fiction. He's made it for this.
Benjamin, now no great Superman fan am I. But this comic also feels like no great Superman fan is Tom King.
It's just... It's just Tom King edginess, isn't it? It's just
Go on. Let it out.
look.
Let it out, Ben.
We've done this before, right? You're going to be able to hear it in a couple of weeks, folks. I'm
Pretty sure,
redoing.
Ben. We're pretty
Yeah.
sure Tom King is one of the few comic writers who doesn't listen to this. So
Yeah, we went back.
Think you're
So
safe.
no, look, I think Tom King. This is the best Tom King thing I've read, right?
Okay.
This is the best Tom King thing I've read. It is more coherent than how a lot of his stuff turns out. We read Mr. Miracle back in 2019, which is a fascinating comic, Michael, but the two of us have since then suffered from a form of PTSD known as, Jesus Christ, that's a dark comic. Oh, fucking hell, that's a dark comic. And the argument can be made here, because we are subject to relentless depictions of genocide. Could be argued the same, but it's particularly acute in other Tom Kings. He takes Silver Age characters who have maybe fallen out of the limelight, and he makes their lives incredibly hard and dark.
There's a big Alan Moore on them.
It does a big Alan, but even then, it's Alan Moore in a trench coat in Starbucks, going, "Yeah, I'm going to do this to them." Do you know what I mean? It's
Hey,
not
that
great,
King.
and I think he. Like, there's a weird thing where Kara is like, what a fucking little bitch, 45 minutes, I lasted a day. Like, you didn't, Kara. You were unconscious, and a young woman called Ruthye had to defend you for close to 24 hours while you were pretty much beset on all sides by Jurassic
Yeah,
Park.
good point, actually. Yeah, Jurassic Park came together.
And I think if we were to give that a nicer reading, that's Kara's way of dealing with the scare that she's just had. She has been stripped of all her powers and left defenseless. And if not for what is ostensibly a 15-year-old girl, I think, within the text.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe
15,
even a bit
16.
younger.
Yeah, maybe even a bit younger. Like, wouldn't have made it. Like, she would have been eaten by a dinosaur.
Yeah.
They also need this moment as character development for Ruthye. Oh yeah, we have another character that we should probably flesh out a little bit and give a little bit of a hero's journey to. And Ruthye holds her own and does a great job. And then we hit the climax, I guess, of the penultimate. What would you call it? The denouement? Is that what we'd say?
No, I don't know where you're going. Where are you talking about when they fight the monsters, the Minster Men, the Brigands?
Yeah, so we see a separation then. What happens is they find a small island, they get their hands on Krem. There's a bizarre moment where Kara has to take on the Mordu orb again, and she uses Comet the super horse
Where did he come from?
to outrun
Yeah.
to the ends of the comic book universe, to the blank page of stories that hasn't been written, which we are led to believe she has been to before.
Very
Right.
metafictional, man. What's
Very
going on?
metafictional. Out of nowhere, Tom King, I might add. Who are you? Grant Morrison and Animal Man in the 1990s? Get out of here,
Yeah.
Tom King.
Benjamin, I'm surprised that little fella we saw in Assorted Crisis events wasn't hanging around there.
Yeah, just
You
been
know,
like,
that little
oh.
fella. Oh, what's
Yeah.
going on here?
You can listen to that episode, folks. That's out now. It's bloody Denise
that's
Camp
one
and
episode.
yeah,
Paying attention.
Eric Zawadski's Assorted Crisis Events. You'll see it linked if you're on YouTube. It'll pop up just above my head here. That outrunning thing is important, right? Before we get into the final issue, Michael, and the climax, there's something very important to be mentioned here. And that is
Go on.
the narrative technique employed by Ruthye throughout this. So
It's a book.
It's a book. It is Ruthie's retelling of the event, right?
Like
so
True
that's
Grit.
important. Like True Grit, exactly. And this is where that strange fusion of things happens. So Ruthye talks like she's in a Western, but acts like she's in a medieval court. She uses an honor system and a code of conduct that would not be out of place at the round table in Arthurian myth, right?
Sure.
She has her own ways of doing things. And she writes as though she were a Victorian novelist. She's Agatha Christie to some degree in this. And it's probably something that I give a lot of credit to Tom King for. It's great for myth making to have it narrated through the eyes of the naive young girl. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing new in that. But it does a great job of giving us a Supergirl who is astronomically almost approaching godhood by the end of the text. She fights a space dragon as a flaming phoenix creature. And Ruthye admits to herself she didn't see that because Supergirl flies off. They can see the dragon because it's so all-encompassing. But Ruthye says that she can't see her from the bus once she goes off to do this. And yet we get this fantastic rendition of a phoenix-like Supergirl taking on the dragon. But we have to always take a pinch of salt with it and say, yeah, but, this is what Ruthye imagined was happening. Yeah. Doesn't matter. It makes for a great Supergirl. But it's important to note that because as we come to the end, we begin to get into this.
That's how she outruns the cosmic orb.
Yes. Yeah.
Because actually what happened is Ruthye doesn't know how she outran the cosmic
Ruthye
orb,
doesn't know.
She just made up,
how could Ruthye know?
Made up some bullshit. Okay.
And she's also been very clear that Supergirl is not a chatter. She's not a chatty Cathy. She will deliver as much as Ruthye needs to know at any given time and then take her with her and then oftentimes leave her places and tell her not to be a Scooby-Doo gang and go off and be a meddling kid. She says, just stay in the hotel room, right? Yeah. Don't be running around. Don't be poking racists. Don't be doing it, right?
These are racists here, and that's the biggest evil.
And that's the biggest
Benjamin, just to point out, I'm not supporting racism. The racists are shitebags.
I know you're not.
I'm just arguing that maybe genocide it might be like at least equal.
Worse.
Or
Look,
arguably worse.
We come to the final.
At least equal, though.
So, Comet and Supergirl outrun.
Where the fuck did this guy come from? First
of all? We'll get into that in a second, Michael.
Who the fuck is this guy? Where did he come from?
It's really interesting once we get in there, right? No, fuck you. How dare you? Wait until I tell you the backstory of this fucking character, then you're going to understand why I'm so insulted. Anyway.
Okay.
The way that this pans out is they get Krem. They outrun the orb. She comes back. She makes short work of the Brigands that he surrounds himself with, and they tie him to a tree. We don't get to see it. They get him. That's all that matters. Easy. They get him.
Yeah,
and they end up on the Mario Kart level Coconut Beach. And they tie him to a tree. And he's bound to the tree. And basically, Kara says, right, I'm going to go into space and take on the space Brigands. And you're going to sit on this island. I'm going to leave you with your sword. And my horse is going to look after you. And don't kill the man that you have been hell-bent on killing from the go.
Yeah.
Right? And then off she goes. And she says, now don't. I'll know. Don't be going to murder that fella. That is the entire reason you're here. Don't do that. And so Ruthye is given her temptation scene, if you like, her forbidden fruit scene. And she decides to have a 1-to-1 with Krem of the Yellow Hills.
Yeah,
and he's a prick. He's just a prick. But he's great because he's a prick. He's a consistent prick. And he's just a man. And it shows how easily just a man can get under your skin because he's a prick, right?
And he's done so many genocides. Also.
He's done so many genocides.
So many. He's been implicated.
He's
been involved in
Michael.
at least 6 or 7 on-screen genocides.
Easy amount.
More than pretty much anyone has ever achieved in their lifetime. Most people, if they strive, they'll get to do 1.
Yeah. The cosmos isn't great, right?
Don't do genocides.
Awful.
They're bad. Yeah.
They're dreadful. A message from Collecting Issues.
Don't do genocides anymore. Let's be past it.
So we get to that. We get the scene, right? Kara takes on the Brigands, and we're led to believe that, again, very important, Ruthye didn't see any of this.
Yeah.
Ruthye doesn't see this, but she makes up this cosmic David and Goliath situations. The Brigands being Goliath and Kara being David. I'm very biblical today, Michael. A lot of my analogies have been biblical.
To elaborate on Benjamin's David and Goliath imagery, have you ever seen Looney Tunes? So if you were to think of the rabbit, the Bugs Bunny, and the hunter as a kind of David and Goliath type characters. Sorry, go on.
fuck you shitbag. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out. No.
We'll just wrap it up.
So what happens is she takes this on, and then Ruthye decides to have a scrap with this toss bag.
Yeah, she says, come on, let's have a fight, even though you're way bigger and you've done
I think
so
it's the
many
least-
genocides.
The least believable part of this is that Ruthye, she says, well, I learned at the foot of Supergirl, so I know a few things too. No, not really, Ruthye. Not really. Now,
Can't even fly.
Krem of the Yellow Hills he's a shite bag. He's
Absolute bag of shite.
a genocider.
So many
He's
genocides.
an all-round prick, but he's also a very battle-hardened murder machine.
Oh, he's done so many murders, man.
He's killed so many people that he could create a mystical MacGuffin. Right? And you're telling me that on the little scrap on the beach, you were clever enough to give him a bang of your boot, so sorted.
Yeah,
Fucking get out of here.
The one thing people always forget is that if you get kicked in the head, it hurts a bit. It's like Tom King's obviously never been in a fight.
Well,
Like,
apparently he was in the
I think-
CIA, Michael.
Yeah, sure. I've been kicked in the head, Ben, and not noticed I've been kicked in the head. That's how little being kicked in the head can do when you're full of
Mick Leonard
adrenaline.
has been kicked in the head. That's the other message from collecting issues.
You get a huge chunk sound, and someone goes, "Oh, are you okay?" And you go, "Yeah, why? What?" It's like I kicked you in the head pretty hard, and oh, okay.
Oh yeah, if you say so.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I didn't feel it. Anyway,
Here are the real the jigs. Comet is called into action, right?
Yeah.
Comet realizes that Supergirl is up against it and gets called into space. Now, Michael, who the fuck is Comet, right? Because all
where's
of a
this guy
sudden,
come from?
all of a sudden, Comet becomes a man, and Comet gives his life for Supergirl in this
Yeah.
story. And
Yeah.
why Tom King felt the need to rehabilitate a serial child groomer in the original instance of his creation is beyond.
Oh.
So let me give you this example, right? Comet
Right.
appeared in
Yeah.
February of 1962, 3 years after
on.
Supergirl was introduced, right?
Right. Just a
He was part of the
horse.
Super Pets, Super Animals, Super Pets, right? Streaky the Cat, Beppo the Monkey, Ace the Wonderhound, they were all there, right?
I'm familiar with them, yeah.
The Super Pets. JLA, but furry. Before that was a weird fetish. And as the story progresses over the years, it turns out that Comet is not a horse. Comet is a man from ancient Greece.
Oh, classic.
His original name was Byron, and he was a centaur. He was in love with the sorceress Circe, who is a famous figure from the Odyssey.
Fucking Cersei. It's
Right.
always fucking Cersei. I knew it was going to be Cersei, Ben, even before you started.
Right? So, she was the victim of an assassination plot by a man called Maldor, a wizard.
Oh, fucking wizards. I knew there was going to be
And Byron the centaur saves Circe.
Yeah.
And so Circe
Okay.
says, "Oh, Jesus, great stuff. I'll give you a transformation potion as a reward." Okay,
Great
fair
fabulous.
enough. But it turns out Maldor, the tricksy wizard, switched the vials, Michael. A classic Emperor's New Groove
fucking
issue,
wizards.
right?
You can't trust wizards, Ben.
Classic, pulled the wrong levers, drank the wrong vial, Michael, and is turned into a horse irreversibly, right?
Oh, no.
Dreadful. However, to apologize for transforming the man who saved her life into a permanent horse, she gave him another potion, which gave him the might of Jove, the speed of Mercury, the wisdom of Athena, and the telepathic powers of Neptune. And that's the most important one. I wasn't aware that Neptune had telepathic powers.
Oh, you can speak to the fishes, Ben.
It was the the Silver Age, right? So somehow
So Shazam, basically. He's Shazam.
he's Shazam, but a horse.
Yeah.
Right? So Maldor is furious at this and uses another spell to trap Byron on an asteroid in Sagittarius
hell.
constellation,
Oh, ironic. Yeah, okay.
where he
See,
waited
Yeah.
until Supergirl's rocket passed and broke the force of the field containing him to this planet,
My God.
enabling him to escape. And he becomes a kind of an honor guard for Supergirl as her rocket travels to Earth. Now, where it gets really, really weird is that it turns out that the horse that Supergirl has a very deep bond with is actually a sentient man-beast thing. And there is an arc later on in their thing where an impending alien attack is coming, And Byron, the super horse, Comet, as he's known, is sending her telepathic dreams of him as a man to warn her of this, right?
Yeah.
And frankly, it's telepathic grooming. It's really weird. He sends her images of himself half naked to say, I am the love and I am the light, and I will come to you, and you will love me because I am him. And luckily, Michael, in another bit of MacGuffining, what happens is that when a certain asteroid passes, the spell is broken and he become a man again. And when that happens, he becomes Bronco Bill Starr, a rodeo trick rider. Bronco Bill Starr briefly became...
I wasn't expecting that at all.
That's his secret.
Oh my
And when
God.
he does this, Michael,
there's more.
he becomes Kara Zor-El's paramour, her lover, if you will. Very
Yeah,
fucked
I know
up.
what paramour means. Have you ever seen Looney Tunes?
Yeah, shut up, Michael. I'll fucking kill you. So, Michael, that's where this fucking weird as shit Greek metamorphosis, Ovid-looking fuck scene comes, right?
Ben,
Yeah.
if that freaks you out, you need to stay away from book talk.
I'm
Because
never
that
going near
sounds
book
like-
talk.
Stay away. That sounds like half of the books the women are reading now. A sexy
the
horse
women are
is sending
mad
a
for
woman
centaur
telepathic
horses.
dreams. Yeah, 1,000%.
Centaurs
Anyway,
are
Ben.
horses to a degree. But anyway, sorry, yes. Anyway, he dies.
Yes.
And we get a really weird Christ-like scene of Kara descending from space with a bloodied...
This is another moment that took me out of the story.
Okay.
Because the whole story was ostensibly, Benjamin, about catching Krem to save crypto.
Yes.
All right. And part of my brain was going, they've been doing this for months. Surely that dog is dead by now. Like, they've been traveling for months and months. And then the horse dies. And Kara's like, yeah, whatever. Dead now anyway. And then the girl's like, let's get back to crypto. And she's like, dog's fine. So,
Yeah.
dog's
I was
fine.
teaching you a lesson.
Yeah. Dog's fine. I was teaching you a lesson. Horse dead, though. Horse less important than dog? Clearly. Horse
Well,
dead.
he was a telepathic space groomer, Michael.
He was a telepathic space groomer, so he deserved it. But, like, horse dead. The horse died to teach the girl a lesson. I think. Seems a bit... I think...
Yeah.
Did Supergirl get the horseman killed in an effort to teach the girl a lesson about killing?
But the worst part for me is, but we can't kill him. And we've all learned that lesson. It's like, well, this man is awful. Like, there's
one of the worst.
something to be said here. Like, there's no moral high ground in not killing this man. I'm sorry. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Krem of the Yellow Hills is one of the worst villains in DC's history. Right?
He's done a genocide an issue.
Lex Luthor. Forget about it. Who's Lex Luthor?
Lex Luthor is just an asshole. This guy's
He's
literally
just
a
a
genocide
dickbag
an issue.
billionaire. Like, who cares, man? Who cares? The Joker. All right, he's killed a few hundred, possibly 1,000 people. He hasn't wiped out entire planets and enslaved them.
0 genocides, as far as I can tell.
0 genocides. Krem of the Yellow Hills is one of the worst, and they stick him in the Phantom Zone.
Put him in the
Michael.
Phantom Zone, Ben. Maybe he'll learn
And
a lesson.
apparently, he rehabilitates.
flat.
Get fucked. That must be Tom King's guilt from being in the CIA. Just being like, even someone who is complicit in genocides and things like that can be redeemed.
Yeah, this is morally all over the place. That's
All
kind
over
of
the
what I'm saying. Like,
By the
so,
end.
the whole thing about the dog, that was a lie. Dog was never in danger. He's fine. So this was a
Sloppy.
months-long effort to teach you.
Sloppy.
Yeah, I was like, was that ever the point, or did the author? And again, I don't really care how this question is answered. It's more the fact that I was sitting there reading the comic, having this thought, that I think that's what takes you out of it. So I don't care about the answer. But I was sitting there going, did the author decide, it was never about the dog, because the author realized, oh shit, I've been having them do this for months, and the dog was on death's door. So...
It's very hard to know.
Was it always the intent to pull the rug out of the dog story? Because the movie...
Tom King, come on the podcast. Answer these questions. Yes, the movie, and spoilers here, the movie uses the dog as the clock. So saving crypto is the full intent of the movie. I should point out, Michael, that the ordinary everyday evil aspect is taken out of it. It's sex trafficking. Cosmic sex trafficking is the story of Supergirl the movie. And they use a bride's mechanics.
Worse than genocide.
It's pretty bad. I don't know if we have to have a ranking system for terrible things.
That's my point, Ben.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
You accidentally stumbled upon my point.
I've accidentally. Do you ever see Looney Tunes?
Do you ever see the episode of Looney Tunes where Bugs Bunny does a murder and a genocide?
Right.
And well, which one is worse?
Duck season or rabbit season? Which one is worse?
Yeah, so it's the scale of the crisis that nearly... I did enjoy this. I don't hate this by any stretch of imagination. I thought it's a very good comic. But it's moral and its message. And only because it's so clearly intended as a moral thing. It's so clearly intended as people are learning lessons and we're seeing things about the nature of evil in the universe and the nature of good and learning and mentorship. So only because it sets its stall out so clearly. But then the morality of it is quite odd.
By the end, yes.
Yeah, we don't kill this guy. We've killed shitloads of people and purposefully not stopped other people from being killed.
Yeah, I think, and this is in my opinion, I'm going to ask your grace to give me 10 minutes because I don't want to come away from this comic not talking about Bilquis Evely and Matheus Lopes. Because, as you said, I really enjoyed this. So much so that I bought this originally as a compact edition, and I was so taken with the art, Michael, that I then sprung for the big boy, for the big deluxe
Jimmy
edition
Hardback
one, right? Jimmy Hardback. But I sprung for it because I read the reviews, and you get all the layouts that Bilquis Evely does for the comic in the background. It shows you her color processes. It shows you her cover processes. It shows you everything, and it's phenomenal. Bilquis Evely is a phenomenal artist. I think she is capable of producing the mythic-like quality that is required for superheroes to be sold effectively, but without ever sacrificing the fantasy influences and the dynamic storytelling required of comic books. I think her work with emotion is incredible. I think she conveys emotion in a comic book exceptionally well. We can see Kara's irritation. We can see her disappointment. We can see her breaking point in the final issue. She looks like a broken woman from facial expression alone by the end of the comic. She's created a superhero costume that neatly sidesteps the exploitation inherent in the miniskirt, which is pretty impressive, without compromising. I think she does a great job of rendering alien worlds. That was something that really struck me, Michael. She creates worlds that feel properly alien. The really annoying Rockwell segregation world aside, a lot of her worlds are big and alien and strange and odd.
I see all of your points, Benjamin. I see all your points about the rendering of the characters and design and whatnot. But I would also like to raise you this image by Michael Turner.
Get the fuck out of here.
Halcyon Times, man. Halcyon Times.
Look at the state of that, Michael. Jesus.
Halcyon days, Benjamin. Benjamin, there's a belt of Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy has a lot to answer for its impact on space stories in the last few years.
Irritatingly so,
Benjamin,
yeah.
I love space weirdo stories. Love them. But I have a worry that space weirdo stories are starting to share a kind of cosmic shorthand.
They are, especially where James Gunn is concerned, at least. So, Bilquis Evely does a phenomenal job of rendering both the high fantasy elements of this story, the scum and villainy Star Wars cantinas of space earlier on in the story. Because traveling between planets is a Star Wars, is a Guardians of the Galaxy. It's janky ships that are not built to be sleek and sexy, but to be functional things that cart people through the vast void of space. And she renders that very, very well. We have great scenes where aliens constantly step up to Kara because she wears the Kryptonian S, and that relates to Superman, and people fucking hate Kal. As Supergirl says, he gets in the way of doing good villainy. It's real annoying. And she does that incredibly well. She does the weird frontier lands, high fantasy stuff incredibly well and renders it all. But the shorthand is what it gets boiled down to in adaptations quite a bit, which really upsets me. Janky space, careening stuff, roguish behavior is all it ends up being at the end. Like, to some degree, Michael, Krem of the Yellow Hills is Peter Quill if Peter Quill was the fucking worst. Do you know what I mean? He's just an ordinary man who went into space.
Yeah, actually, almost accidentally went to space, yeah.
Oh, he accidentally, absolutely. He's running away from Supergirl. He's terrified of Supergirl in issue 1 and hides in her ship, which is in the middle of auto launch. And he just gets carted off into space. That's what happens. That's a fun way to create a villain. Now, it turns out he's the absolute worst, and the more power he's given, the worse he gets. Which, again, could be a comment from Tom King. But, you know, the shorthand is definitely there. I think it's done very well by this duo. Matheus Lopes as well, sorry. None of this would be possible without the phenomenal colour work of Matheus Lopes. Like, I know colorists are the unsung heroes of comic books for some reason.
That's letterers. You're thinking of letterers, Ben.
All right, well, they're both are. But the art in here blew my mind to the point that I wanted to get the new stuff. Like, there's a little bit of...
And red. And purple.
And red. Very good. Like, there's a little bit of Mooka. There's a little bit of Line Decker. There's a little bit of Rockwell in there. It's insane. It's a beautiful piece of work. Something that has come off the back of this, Michael, is that in all the interviews with Millie Alcock and stuff, people keep saying the story by Tom King. And a few comic book artists, the one that springs to mind for me right now is Mike Choi, have come out and said Tom King, Bilquis Evely, and Matheus Lopes. The story by Tom King, you know, because people keep mentioning the comic and saying by Tom King. This comic would be nothing without the phenomenal art that was put behind it. I mean, you could say that about any comic, but in this particular case, like the...
No, I disagree with you there, Ben. There are some comics where the art is just passable. And
fair.
The story, we risk getting into a roundabout conversation of the kind of ebbs and flow of comic book creating, where artists are superstars and writers are superstars, and people are buying books based on artists or based on writers. We're back in the era of writers at the moment.
Yes.
Comic books sell on the back of the writer of the comic, not the artist. But, you know, in the 90s it was the artist. In the 80s it was probably artists as well. But especially in the Image era, it was the artists who were superstars. This isn't even an argument worth having, but I can see the point if you're talking about an adaptation. The one thing they're not taking is the art. They're taking the story and the concept. So I can, yes, for sure. With worse art, this would be the kind of genericness and the meanderingness and the kind of odd moral core of the story. I think they would weigh it down a lot more if it wasn't spectacular looking.
Yes, I think this does a much better job of bringing you back to the joy of comics because of the art. I think otherwise it would be like you wouldn't read this as a book. Do you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't read this weird retelling of True Grit with its strange
there are points
moral
in it
convolution.
It's almost like reading a book. It's very wordy.
Keeping up with Ruthye is stuff.
But also, I'd like to raise you this image by Michael Turner.
Jesus Christ, man. Look at the state of that. Anyway.
I thought she had a red skirt.
No, not where Michael Turner is concerned. Doesn't matter. Come here to me. Before we close this out, Michael, what are your final thoughts on the comic? Did you enjoy it or not?
I did. I did enjoy it. The art is spectacular.
It is.
The universe hopping weird stuff is good, but to the point of it's starting to become very familiar. It's starting to be a kind of fairly generic cosmic superhero goes on a cosmic jaunt story. And I recognize this probably came out before that Beta Ray Bill one that we read, and before any number of other cosmic
Yeah,
hero
2021
goes on a
for
cosmic
this one.
journey. I think it was probably before the Beta Bill one. They're not even the only two.
It happens all over the place.
The cosmic jaunt is becoming a very standard tale. I was very confused by the morality of it, especially because it appeared to be telling a moral tale. The morality struggles because of the scale. I think the reason it's not a classic like True Grit is the inciting incident of True Grit maintains a sense of appropriateness throughout the entire thing. Like the guy is
In terms
doing
of
other
scale.
bad stuff. Yeah. Like, I was really surprised when this turned out to be a pan-universal genocidal. They go to different galaxies, I think. This isn't
Yeah.
across, like, a few systems or a few sectors or something.
They go to the other side
This
of
is-
space at one point.
Yeah, multiple galaxies. Just a swath of genocides. The tension of the idea of a revenge mentor tale blossoming out into this vast cosmic genocidal story, and then having to pinch back down into oh shit, we forgot, did we save the dog or not? Did she get closure for the murder of her father? It all feels a bit trivial compared to the middle act. I think that's what I'll remember about it. I fear that the cosmic jaunts and the different situations and the neat little stories, like the part with the burying the victims and the father wanting to bury his daughter even, and then Supergirl solving that, I think they were lovely, neat little stories. But I'm not sure in 10 years I'll remember them as Supergirl stories rather than just part of the cosmic melange.
Yeah.
I fear what I'll remember about this is fabulous art, if a little in the melange, and then the weird ballooning of scale, having to pinch back down to a single point again. Not quite landing for me. But
Yeah.
again, I feel like we're criticizing this on a very literary critical level.
Yeah,
But
we've
you can
probably gone
only
a bit
do
too
that-
far
You
into
can
it.
only do that because it's good.
Yeah,
You
no,
can
it is
only
very
do
good.
that because it's at a level where it deserves to be and should be analyzed to see whether your snap reaction to it is right or wrong.
Yeah.
As opposed
I
to
would-
something
I would
that's
agree.
rubbish and you just go, oh, that was fucking stupid.
But that's exactly what's happened, and I love it because of it. I think, don't get me wrong, the final act is a misstep or a misalignment, but I think the first 7 issues of this comic are... Go on.
I don't agree that the final act is a misstep. I think the final act and the first act actually fit together nearly perfectly. I think it's unfair to blame the final act because the final act is a fitting final act. It's some of the mad shit that happens in the middle that actually throws off the... Anyway, sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
think-
making the same point.
Yeah. I really, really like this. I thought it was a good defining of Supergirl. This is my favorite Supergirl. Not that that really matters. Not Michael Turner's Supergirl. Stop it. Don't look at your
shit.
phone. I can see you lining it up. I can see you lining it up. I don't care about Michael Turner. But I think what you've said is perfectly accurate. It almost stretches itself too thin across the scale in the middle. Yes, it's Supergirl. Yes, she's spectacular. But to the detriment of the story, maybe, it shouldn't have ballooned as much as it did in the middle. In terms of scale, I think it's quite a measured take on the character in places. Very consistent Supergirl. She is a very calm... Stop that, Michael. Jesus. She's a very calm, very measured woman with godlike powers. I think it makes for a good cosmic odyssey. There's a lot of John Carter of Mars in here. There's a lot of Conan. There's a lot of, as we said, True Grit and other Western tropes. And there's a lot of comics. There's a lot of batshit Silver Age comic stuff going on in here as well. And I like that. Overall, I came out of that going, what an interesting comic. What a fun read. What a fun read for me. I'd recommend it to people. I think it's great.
Tell me a story for a second. Is this the same story as the film that came out last week? The film, Supergirl, the film?
So I think, Okay,
Are we
big
risking
spoilers here.
of the film? We are risking
Yeah,
spoilers.
big
of the
spoiler.
film.
Well, not
Okay.
big spoilers. I'll try and avoid the heavy beats, right? But this has obviously been adapted as part of James Gunn's new rebooted DC cinematic universe, right? We got a glimpse of Millie Alcock playing Kara at the end of Superman, and she got her own outing last month. And everybody said it was going to be Supergirl One of Tomorrow because on the docket, that's what originally it was. Now, Michael, you will have noticed, the keen-eyed listener will have noticed that it's now called Supergirl in cinemas, and Woman of Tomorrow has been stripped from it.
They dropped it.
Subtitle. They dropped it all together, which is a shame, Michael, because they spent what I can only assume is millions on promoting it and pushing this comic as required reading before you got into it. Even going so far as to hiring Bilquis Evely to do her own version of the movie poster, using her style.
And calling a planet Bilquis.
And calling a planet Bilquis. But the tragedy, Michael, I suppose, is they've done feck all with the story outside of the names.
A classic Age of Ultron.
Yeah, they've really watered this down. I think the thing that makes this story is Bilquis Evely and Matheus Lopes' art. They just strip all the colour and whimsy and fantasy elements out of this movie. Krem of the Yellow Hills is the exact opposite of what I described and the reason I liked him. He's just a common or garden variety arsehole in the comic, and yet the whole point of that, I think, is to show that even an ordinary man is capable of great evil. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be a supervillain to be the worst. You can cause great harm if you just have bad intent.
People's dads. Yeah.
That's not the case in the new one. They first of all, they take away his fantastic design of being a kind of Conan-esque side character. He's a real fantasy character, especially in issue 1 when he's introduced. He's off with arrows. He hangs out with barbarians. It's a whole thing. But they turn him into this weird Pinhead Light kind of character. What's the guy's name?
We have such pleasures to show you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just that, except someone went a bit harder with the hammer and drove them in. So now they're in his face. And he gets so much plot armor.
It's called Hellraiser, Ben.
And he gets so much plot armor, Michael. He's stronger than everybody else. He's capable of taking a punch from Kara. You know, he's a big bad man. And instead of finding his way to the Brigands, which he does over the course of this story, he's in the Brigands and he's the head of the Brigands. And everyone defers to Krem of the Yellow Hills. And, you know, they use the name every once in a while, but it doesn't mean anything anymore because it's not tied to a Western trope and it's not tied to a fantasy naming convention anymore. So it's just really out of place and a bit of a tragedy, Michael. Now, as it turns out, Millie Alcock is great. The character that plays Ruthye is great. They do a fantastic job. And the first, I'd say, quarter of the film could be seen as a close adaptation of this story. And then it just goes off the deep end. But Michael!
What is it?
We've run out of time again.
Oh, no.
It's all over, Michael. It's all over for another month. But don't worry. We'll be back in a month's time where you can join us in reading Squadron Supreme from 1985, collecting issues 1 to 12 of the now Marvel Comics series.
No, it was always Marvel Comics.
It was all Marvel Comics. Very good. We're reading Squadron Supreme. We're going back to some old school comic book 80s madness, folks. That's going to be our August read here on Collecting Issues. But fear not, you don't have to wait an entire month to get more content. At some point over the next week and a bit, we'll be releasing a re-edited version of our Mr. Miracle episode from Tom King and Mitch Garrad all the way back in 2019. Yeah, 2019 when we first recorded. If you haven't had enough comic book analysis, folks, we've just published a new essay up on the Substack called Absolute Jallow Arrow. How Absolute Green Arrow, the brand new take on the Robin Hood inspired character from Pornsack Pinochet and Raphael Albuquerque, how it uses Jallow horror tropes from the 1970s to really give the message of Eat the Rich a brand new cathartic edge. It's a lot of fun. You can go check it out. It's down in the description down below. Go take a look down there.
We haven't read that right because it's not collected yet, so we can't.
It's not collected yet, but we might when it comes out. It's only in the first 2 issues. but give it a read. Give it a read. It's down there in the description. If you enjoyed this, if you enjoy this kind of batting about of the ball of literary criticism for comic books, we're not always that intense, but as Michael said, this one had enough meat on its bones for us to actually get into it. Why don't you give us a follow? Why don't you give us a review? Why don't you tell us what you thought of it all? Go on. Off with you now. Go give us a review. Hop it. And we'll see you in about 3 weeks' time. All right, bye. All right, bye.